Today's video, we're going to talk about super high PMAX mobile traffic or traffic coming from mobile devices, why this happens randomly or seemingly randomly anyway. We're going to talk about it, why it's not random, and what to specifically do about it when it happens. So just to clear up the air on this, what I'm talking about, what you're going to have on your typical PMAX campaign in terms of clicks and spend, things will kind of bounce around, a little bit here, but it usually averages out pretty much stable over the course of a month. If this is like a 30-day time period. What will happen often with different advertisers is it'll be humming along and then you're going to go, whoa, way up here. Then it's going to bounce around, then back down like this. And this time period could easily be anywhere from 2 days to 2 weeks, depending on how bad you screwed up, so to say. This has happened enough. I've had enough questions about this at our agency, the comment section of YouTube, that I wanted to finally make a video that addresses this specifically so that you have the information about what to do when it happens to you and not make the mistake of panicking and changing a bunch of stuff when really the answer most of the time is to do nothing. So you got to be aware of the situation, and then sometimes when you do have to do something, you do know what you need to do, but more importantly, when not to do anything at all, because it's going to fix itself and it's going to make it even worse if you go ahead and start making a bunch of changes because you're panicking, which is a common thing people do with Google Ads in general, because I see it all the time. People get bad results, they panic, they make changes, which causes more bad results, then they panic more, which causes them to make even more changes, and it just goes on and on and on. So you absolutely don't want to be in that camp, and I'll explain how not to and have confidence about what you're doing if and when this actually happens to you, and more so when, because if you plan on advertising a long time, it's going to happen to you sometime. It's just a matter of when. Before I get into the content though, if you do not know who I am Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, an online advertising agency that specializes in guaranteeing results for their clients. That is, we do not charge our clients management fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability, basically in excess of the management fees that we charge. We are the only agency out there who offers any kind of similar contingency guarantee, which should tell you something about the quality of the information that I'm sharing with you in today's video. So with that said, getting into the content here. So the two main reasons why you're going to have a graph like this in terms of clicks going way up, and then similar to that, by the way, if you were to look at another chart, it'd be conversely on the cost per click, it's going to go way down, okay? And also impressions are going to go up, of course. When this happens, what is actually happening is you're getting shown more so on Google's display network, or in other words, websites outside of Google. So you're not running search ads at that point. You're not running shopping placements or shopping ads. You're running display ads itself, which are ads that run completely outside of google.com, which normally is always going to happen. But when you see the chart go up in spend and the cost per click specifically goes down, this is when you're going to get loaded up mobile traffic, specifically on mobile apps itself, but also on some other websites with mobile traffic on it, but mostly mobile apps. Okay, because you can advertise on a mobile app through and with your Google Ads account. Part of the reason why Google came out with PMAX campaigns is because they wanted to raise their quarterly revenues on the back of people that are clueless advertisers who don't want to hire anybody to help them because it's too expensive, manage their own ads so that they can sell inventory or ad placements that nobody wants to those people by being ignorant about what they're actually even paying for, if you will. Because nobody typically, in general, that's a small business owner anyway, wants to advertise on mobile apps for the most part because they don't convert. Not to say they don't convert for anybody. If you have an e-commerce business and you're going to do remarketing, they convert. But outside of that general thing there, we're not going to do it too much, if you will. Or if you're talking about services in general, I would also include if you're advertising to people who already know who you are, who've been to your site, and they're almost making a purchase, potentially from you or from somebody, they also do convert. But outside of that, for sure, it's basically not profitable. Why? Because there's too many accidental clicks on an ad on a mobile app. The clicks you get are just accidental clicks or taps, mostly, if you will. And therefore, the clicks are cheap. Therefore, your clicks are going to go up and your cost per click is going to go down because the cost of advertising on these apps is very inexpensive because nobody wants the traffic, if you will. Mobile apps are good for remarketing because you're getting in front of people who, if they just see the ad, it increases the likelihood that they're going to buy in the future. But if they don't know who you are and you're expecting people to click through, you're going to get mostly junk traffic for the reasons of the accidental clicks. So for that matter, now you know why the clicks go up randomly all of a sudden. And we're talking, if you were averaging 100 clicks a day, we're going to go up to 1,000 a day. Google loading you up with the mobile app clicks. And you can also cross-verify this for yourself by going into the reporting on your PMAX campaign. Create an advanced report that shows you your ad placements, and you'll see that your ads showing up on mobile apps that way, if you will. I'm not going to go into detail how to scope that out. Just Google how to view placements on PMAX, and then a certain report you open up, you can see it there and you can see it with your own eyes. When it happens, then you have to know what to do. But why it happened specifically, you got to know that first so you know what to do about it happening, if you will. And I'm going to go into that specifically next. Before I do though, by the way, if you're uncertain about your situation still after looking at and hearing what I have to say about this, want to know about your situation, you're panicking, not sure what to do, leave me a comment in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours. You can also, by the way, ask me any marketing or advertising related question. I'm more than happy to answer those just as a way of saying thank you for helping the channel grow. You can also reach out to me at my agency, and if you want to book a coaching session, I can talk to you about it there in private. I do coaching and consulting with individuals who watch this channel quite often now, as I'm very good at understanding how to evaluate a client's business at a top level to understand why the ads are working. Given ads a lot of times don't work because other things are at play and that are an issue. Websites are messed up, lead handling's messed up, sales is messed up. You have to know all of it to know how to make your ads work. Packaging, that kind of thing. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. As is, if you're interested also in having us guarantee results for your campaigns, we can tell you how to do that and what we can guarantee for you while you contact me. That's our typical bread and butter service at our agency and what we do for clients. And other agencies don't guarantee results, which should tell you something about the quality of the strategies we have at our firm at our disposal. And as a side, if we've worked in your niche market before, we can literally also just sell you the ad template if you want that. This is something that's been very popular recently. We worked in over 100 different individual unique niche markets, and so the chances are quite high we've already figured out how to get results in your market in another city, country, or a state, region, and you could just take what we have that wins already versus having to spend all the time to figure out what wins for yourself. But getting back to what I was saying here, the two main reasons why you get loaded up with the mobile app traffic is, number one, Google Analytics breaks, okay? So if you weren't aware, and I wasn't aware for a long time, that Google Analytics is used by PMAX to steer the campaign, which it makes sense if you think about it from a more high-level area, which PMAX, what they're doing is they're going to use the Google Analytics data about what pages people visit, how long they visit certain pages, do they get to the cart or not if you're an e-commerce business, do people fill out certain contact forms, did they bounce when they get to the site initially, have they visited the site more than once, did they get to the site, and then for that matter, the people who bought before, what traits did they have, how old are they, and so on and so forth. Assuming Google has a lot of this data already, there's a lot of data in Google Analytics now that they could use to profile people, particularly people who've been to your website already, so that when they're trying to figure out if an ad should show up for somebody via the PMAX campaign or not, they could tell pretty well the likelihood somebody's going to jump on your offer based upon whether they've interacted with your business or not, and then if so, specifically how and how much, if you will. And when you're selling something that's more expensive, where the average user Like when you sell something for even more than 50 bucks, most users aren't going to buy from you the first time they hit the website. And by the way, I don't even use PMAX for lead generation. It's garbage for that. You run standalone search campaigns and so forth. For e-commerce, it works to run shopping placements better than non-shopping. That's what we're using it for at our firm because there's more machine learning involved in it. And when you run feed-only PMAX setups, it works really well for shopping. PMAX is going to be utilizing all of this data about whether somebody comes to the site or not. And if you sell something for more than even 50 bucks, the average person's not going to buy on the first visit to your site. There's really like a pipeline effect that's going on where you advertise to get people to the site and then you advertise to them until they're ready to buy or they buy from somebody else. Advertising that happens after they've been to your site first is actually really important to get the traffic that comes to your site in the first place to convert. Google not having when they were relying on the Google Analytics data to get you the results to see who should see an ad and who shouldn't, and you take it away, now that's a significant enough of a change where Google just doesn't know what to do anymore. And when they don't know what to do, that your ad rank, that determines whether your ad gets to show for a particular individual or somebody else's in your market goes really low. And you end up at the bottom of the pile in terms of who you can get in front of. The person most likely to convert into a customer that you were getting in front of before. Google had a really good handle on your ads. You're not getting in front of them anymore, and that means mobile app traffic. So if your Google Analytics breaks, given that your Google Analytics account, if you've got it set up and you got it linked to Google Ads like you absolutely should do, if you're running PMAX, because it's going to really help you out, specifically get a lot more results out of PMAX. If it breaks, you can absolutely have this issue. You will also have an issue, in general, also involved if you're talking about, and you have double counting of your data in Google Analytics all of a sudden, or half counting or partial counting of the users who visit your website for whatever means. Maybe your shopping cart updated and the data, how it's sent to Google Analytics, isn't the same anymore. Or you have event tracking in your Google Analytics account break. We've seen all of the above now. This will all typically cause exactly what these charts, as I showed you here, itself. So that's the first major reason why you're going to get loaded up with mobile traffic on your PMAX campaign. The other major reason is you have a campaign producing much better than average results recently, okay? So going back to what I was saying before about Google's main purpose for rolling out PMAX in the first place, which was to sell inventory that nobody wants and stuffing it in with good inventory so that they could ultimately sell it, but also making it easy to advertise on these other places where the bad inventory exists, given that setting up a display campaign is hard for the average user. They made it easy to waste your money on the display network. They also wanted to sneak it in with the other traffic that does kind of work. So you're like, oh, I'm getting some sales. It must all be good. What Google does, they jump at the opportunity to load you up with this mobile app traffic when your performance on your ads is exceptionally well. So they're taking advantage of the situation. So let's say your target ROAS or ROI on your campaign that you wanted is 500%, right? All of a sudden, and that's about what you've been getting. All of a sudden, though, for a full week, your return on investment was 1,200% because you got on a lucky streak, whatever. Maybe something happened in current events that caused a bunch of people to want to buy from your market, whatever. At that time, instead of Google just giving you the 1,200% return, what they're going to ultimately do is they're going to load you up with mobile app traffic to sell a bunch of inventory that they couldn't sell otherwise, and that'll bring your return on investment back down to 500%, and that's how they sell a lot of their bad inventory. Whereas they can't sell you bad inventory regularly because if you're tracking results, that is, because your return on investment would go so low that your campaign wouldn't get the target return on investment that you've set it to get. They can't sell you that inventory, but if it's doing better than average, they can sneak it in there and your return on investment's not going to go any lower than what you have set the campaign to get. With that said, that can also cause you to get loaded up on mobile app traffic itself. How do you fix this then? Well, first of all, fix your Google Analytics 4 account and create it so that there's more fault-tolerant systems. Find out why it's screwed up. You're using a certain plugin in Shopify to send data to Google Analytics, which you shouldn't now with how things are. you use the Google and YouTube app for that. But if you are, potentially think about moving away from it so that the data coming from Shopify to Google Analytics 4 doesn't break again, so to say. A similar thing for other platforms that you may be using. Figure out why it broke and create a more fault-tolerant way to do the transfer of data from your site to Google Analytics 4 so it doesn't break again. And for that matter, you also got to it's happened. There's nothing you can do to roll back the clock. What you don't want to do if Google Analytics broke in some way, event tracking broke, whatever, you want to fix it, make sure it doesn't get broken again, and you want to give it time to heal. The PMAX campaign's not going to go back to having normal clicks, mostly that are on google.com versus on mobile apps, until enough time has passed for the algorithm to figure out, oh, I see the type of people who buy from you. Let's focus on that, which it's really strange, of course, if you don't know what I know about why they would start loading you up with mobile traffic when that never converted before. The reality is their system's based upon ad rank now, and the person with the high ad rank, they get all the quality users. And so that's why I've harped on many times on this channel before that you either go all the way with your strategy on Google Ads or not at all, because the good advertisers that they like get all the good quality traffic itself. And it's like impossible to make a profit when they give you the lowest quality traffic. The system's set up in which that if they don't know what to do, you automatically get a low ad rank again. You have to build your ad rank back up. And when you have low ad rank, they send the shitty traffic to you. And so the shitty traffic, they want to sell it. They just sell it to the guy who has the low ad rank. And you get low ad rank when enough changes on your campaign that the algorithm just puts its hands up in the air and says, I don't know what to do. We're just going to reevaluate everything you got to make sure your ad rank really should be on the top of the pile, if you will, so to say. So I know people hate how complicated this is now, but it can work to your advantage if you do understand it and put together really good fault-tolerant systems in your business so that your campaign doesn't have to constantly go through changes, that the tracking's not breaking all the time, Google Analytics is not breaking all the time, and then when your other competitors who don't do that are constantly have their stuff break or they don't have the right data going to PMAX, you have a major advantage. So just having Google Analytics set up right is a major advantage over your competitors who would have a PMAX campaign with no Google Analytics. With the downside being if Google Analytics breaks, then all the results you have built up over time, you lost it all, and now you might be at a loss in terms of your business because you have a lot of overhead and not the sales coming in from the PMAX that was coming in before, which for most e-commerce companies, it's 60-70% of the revenue coming in from their Google ads as a whole. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is don't have your target set too low. If you have a return on investment that's 400% on your PMAX campaign, and you have a campaign set up for 200% ROAS, I would suggest you raise the target ROAS up closer to 400%, which, the caveat there being not change it too quickly because you can really screw stuff up if you change. Typically, PMAX campaigns more than 15% at a time, either in terms of budget or the target ROAS itself or target CPA itself. So I'm going to go from 200% to 230, which would be a 15% increase. And then from 230 to, 265, and I'm going to walk it up. And each change that I do, I'm going to give it 10 days to kind of restabilize fully. When campaigns go back into learning mode, if they do, usually it seems to take 7 to 10 days to work itself out. Reasonably good volume PMAX campaign. So even though your campaign's not going to go back into learning mode, only changing it by 15% typically, which is why you keep it under a 15% change, it still does better if you make a change, wait 10 days, then make another change, wait 10 days. Pretty much guarantee you don't go back into learning mode. Which when you go back into learning mode, like I mentioned, your traffic quality is going to go down. Maybe it's not going to load you up with mobile app traffic, but it'll start loading you up with clicks from Google search in that case, which is typical, that are less likely to convert. That it does do. Anyway, walk up your target ROAS to where you actually are at with your campaign progress at the given time. Because usually when you start out PMAX, right, you won't be able to have a target ROAS very high because your campaign's just starting out. It's not that efficient, and it's not efficient because Google doesn't know how to run it. it doesn't have enough data to really know how to run it well. Your ROI/ROAS just keeps going up and up and up, and then, eventually gets to be good. So as it goes up, you need to be raising the target ROAS to follow it so that Google doesn't take advantage of you, see it's doing way better than what you say you want, and load you up with mobile traffic that you don't want. And then it just stays higher versus, gets to be high, then goes down because they loaded you up with the mobile traffic. Got it? So there's a lot of little things like this to know about Google. They've gotten to the stage, it's a late stage product. They're trying to make the ads better so people will click on ads more as one way to make more money, and that I applaud. But they're also doing stuff like other ad platforms do as well to take the clueless advertiser, load them up with junk nobody wants as a way to raise revenue. And they're doing this a number of ways, of which it's through PMAX. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to know this stuff if you're not going to actually get taken advantage of. So you want to do two things to not get taken advantage of. One, subscribe to this channel because I go over all these gotchas that you can get taken advantage of and buy on this channel regularly, given that I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm as my sole full-time job, and I share on the weekends what you need to know about it. But you also should check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com because I also got plenty of excellent information there. Either way, you should just know that most of the information you're going to find on the internet about this stuff is going to be incomplete because it's written or given to you by people who don't run ads as their full-time job, just focusing on the strategy side of things, and the information is not very good, whereas I just do ad strategy all day long as my full-time job, and you're getting the most relevant information possible. Most of these channels are run by agency owners who don't manage any ads themselves anymore, or they're just people trying to make money off of Google AdSense or what have you. So anyway, for that matter, you should subscribe if you're serious about making money with ads. Absolute minimum information you need to be able to make millions of dollars a year running ads for your business. So subscribe if you haven't already, and that is your goal to do that. Beyond that, that's the main thing you got to do to not have stuff like this and other things like Google can get you, so you will eventually make lots of money running ads for your business. Learning the key minimum things you need to know, the principles about what works and what doesn't work, and stay on top of it because it's always kind of changing over the years. If you have any questions, like I said, let me know in the comment section, and I'll wrap it up with that. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.
Remember when I said PMAX campaign was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.